Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back to Ramadan TV. My name is Julie Ali and my guest is Khaled Jassat. He's a super coach and we're talking about mindfulness in the month of Ramadan. So when I say mindfulness in the month of Ramadan, obviously it covers the aspects that we touched on pre the break, which is IQ, EQ, SQ, and of course overriding all of that as well is the issue around forgiveness.
Absolutely. So it is the month of Rahmah. And as I mentioned early on, that we do not forgive others because they might or might not deserve forgiveness. We forgive others because we deserve peace in our lives. And all of this forgiveness or this disappointment or expectations has come from a preconceived idea of how other people should behave. And when they do not step up to that behavior or expectation, we get angry with them, we get disappointed with them, we get into conflict with them, we get irritated or frustrated by them. And then we carry this burden. So in other words, when things are going well between two people or a team of people, there's a script within our own mindset that allows us to be affable, to be congenial, and to be friendly. But then if someone doesn't kind of respond or live up to that expectation, it's not them who's doing this. They're not getting up in the morning thinking, let me see what I can do to peeve this person off today. Even in spouses and marriages, it's not, how can I upset my spouse today? So we do something which we feel we want to do, and it doesn't line up. It doesn't align with the expectation from the other person. So what happens is we essentially change the script within our own mindset that we hold about that person.
Okay, so then I need to ask you this very important question. At the start of Ramadan, I do certainly promise myself that I'm going to be mindful. I'm going to do everything that is expected of me in my relationships with all of my loved ones and my circle of friends and colleagues, so that inshallah, if I do things and I'm mindful in everything that I do, at the end of Ramadan, I will have had some personal growth. It doesn't necessarily come to pass. I may trip up sometime during the month of Ramadan. How, once again, that big word, how do you remain mindful of all of these issues?
You would agree with me that we cannot manage anything we can't measure, right? Your Ramadan, your taqwa, you measure it by an emotion. You measure it by your commitment. You measure it by discipline. Now, how do we manage us and our decisions or our intentions? And our emotions are our closest allies. So I get people to get in tune, because the only Sigma instrument of measurement and managing our own lives is how we feel about ourselves first, every moment that we think about ourselves. And if I'm thinking about myself as the angry person, or the person that's been wounded, or the person that's grieving, then I'm not measuring up well, I'm not managing my life well. And of course, every day, as we know, when we wake up in the morning, we have a rebirth, we have an opportunity. There's a beautiful opportunity on the horizon for us to step into a new day. Ramadan kind of makes it more official, but we should be doing this every day. So for me, your emotions are your closest allies. So when I sit with a client who's in some level of despondency, the first thing I want to tap into or get them to unpack is, how are they feeling right now? And if it's a negative feeling, what is leading to the negative feeling? And where do those negative feelings come from? And I make them realize, if you take a little child and you give the child a teddy bear, the child feels very secure. I've just got a grandson and he's 8 months old and he hasn't been attached to a teddy bear yet, but most kids get attached. Right. And you know, if you go on vacation and you forget the teddy bear, you got a drama.
Yeah.
But if you really look at that idea of how it works, the teddy bear is a stuffed thing. It has no transient emotions. So the feelings that the child aligns or adds on to that kind of teddy bear, associates with it, is coming from the child itself, not the teddy bear. And this is for us in real life how we function, because we associate anger with certain people, we associate love and compassion with other people, we associate disappointment with other people, we associate positivity and influence and primary influence with other people. But the feelings are all within us. It's not about the other person, because that person's a teddy bear in your world.
So it's all about us. It's all
Only
about
about
our
us.
emotions, our feelings, how we decide to move on.
Our perceptions.
Absolutely. And so let's look at, obviously, in a situation in Ramadan, we promise that if I'm an angry person, I promise that I'm going to keep my anger in check. I promise that I'm going to forgive those that have wounded me. And my whole list of to-do things in Ramadan. We can be on top of this, can't we? Because we've got 30 days to practice all of this stuff.
And it's about identifying the triggers and people. And once we can understand the triggers and what those triggers are associated with in your own kind of mindset and your own reality, because we have all these imprints and templates at the subconscious level that sit in a filing cabinet. And every time there's an external stimulus or trigger, this gets activated. And what we try and do in our coaching sessions is wedge the trigger to the stimulus to the response. And once we wedge it, we can shift it. Because in every moment of any moment, as we sit here right now, Julie, there is an infinite amount of questions you could be asking me. But once we make a decision and ask the question, it becomes more absolute. But up to that moment, it's very abstract. Now, we exactly the same thing. We are transient beings, and we are not the command center. We are the commanders. But when we're running as a command center, then any triggers creates a stimulus and an automated response. But once you become aware that I'm the commander and I can change the narrative, I can renegotiate the narrative,
Absolutely.
it allows me to influence my response. And the moment I do it once, twice, thrice, that trigger now becomes dormant because we've dealt with that emotion. And for me, Ramadan is a catalyst for that.
Absolutely.
Because it's a time of contemplation, a time of reflection. And I want everyone to know that however we associate anything with, it all begins and ends with us, the narratives, and our history, our experiences.
Okay, so I want to be a better person this Ramadan, as does every Muslim that is experiencing this Mubarak month of Ramadan. And we all carry stuff with us. We all have lots of baggage. I exercise mindfulness, kindness, love, mercy, and all of those beautiful concepts in the month of Ramadan. And I kind of tell myself halfway, midway through Ramadan, hey, I've got this. I am becoming, I'm growing, I'm being a better person. And inshallah, there's this new growth in me, which I'm going to take with me post-Ramadan. Sad to say, post-Ramadan, a lot of us let go or lose those concepts that we were holding on so dearly because we felt good about ourselves in Ramadan, for all of those wonderful wonderful things that were happening around us and we were being a part of in the month of Ramadan. How do we ensure that it carries through and we don't go back to our old habits and become this mean creature or this hateful person or this angry person? Because we've been given 30 days to change that habit. We know psychology tells us it only takes you 21 days to change a habit. And here Allah has been more merciful. We're given 30 days. 9 days extra. So what's going wrong?
It's about reinforcement. Also, a lot of focus, even in Ramadan, is we focus on how we need to change our behavior to get better results, to be a better human being, to navigate better with other human beings. However, in coaching, we understand that behavior is an expression of the problem, not the problem. So we got to go look beyond. We got to reverse engineer and go even deeper. Behavior is the outcome of emotional states. Emotions are the end results of past experiences. Past experiences would be the sum total of all of your conditioning. Okay? So conditioning is where we really need to look at. We need to look at our past, we need to look at our experiences and see that what did we buy into as a conditioning at that point in time that has influenced and impacted how we feel about the situation. That once that emotion has been aroused, then the behavior is just going to follow suit and the result is going to be back to the same result. So I think it's about getting to the core of what drives human behavior. And that is our sum total of our conditioning. And, obviously it takes quite a while with the client, but we start tapping into the conditioning. So we start asking the why question. Why do I behave like this? Why do I feel like this when I see that person? What happened in the past with that person that allows me to have this imprint that when I see this person, I respond or react in that manner? And if you can change it at the level of conditioning, then that is enduring. That has traction. That can not just take you through the 30 days or the year, it will take you through for the rest of your life. So it's about ascertaining the root cause of everything else that follows suit, which is very automated.
Okay, with a few minutes left to wrap up time, let's look at, you talked about conditioning, you talked about behavior, you talked about the root cause. And yet, alhamdulillah, lots of us have a very positive experience in the month of Ramadan. We feel really good about ourselves. And I guess it's because all of us are behaving in like manner. What is the mainstay? What do we hold on to? How do we change our mindset to be in that space, inshallah, and just better ourselves? But we are running out of time, so if you could give me a short answer to that.
I think with the ego, we live with a high degree of duality. And I think once you begin to understand your non-dual essence of who we are, and when we have a non-dual, we are not separate from anyone and everything else, that everything around us is a mirror and an image and a reflection truly of who we are, including our spiritual elevation, including our anger and anguish. And when we begin to understand that this person is just giving me feedback as a reflection of my true inner world, it begins to change perspective. So for me, Ramadan allows us to restrain from that impulse to create duality between us and our divine, duality between us and our community, and then us and ourselves. And once we begin to integrate that, it creates a wholeness, it creates a oneness, it creates an incredible feeling of belonging. And I think that changes everything. So my advice would be to try and remain non-dual as possible.
And you mention a very important word there. It's about belonging. Human beings are not an island. No man is an island.
Absolutely.
And I think once you feel you belong, you feel validated, you feel loved, you feel accepted, despite whatever baggage or whatever past issues you might have displayed with your family and friends. You can start working on becoming a better person, is it not? It really starts with you, but that feeling of belong. It begins and ends
with you.
But that feeling of belong, that validation, the validation is very important. What happens to a person who wants to go beyond that point, the nafs, overcome the ego, but feels rejected by all of those around them?
For me, once you begin to identify that you're an intricate part of a divine tapestry, that not just connects the earth together, but it's cosmic and celestial, then you would find that the people that you're not getting along with are probably not at your level yet. And you could then begin to understand that you could influence them, or more importantly, get them to elevate to your level. And then they'll also understand how intricate and important they are.
Absolutely, and that's all we have time for. But thank you indeed,
Thank you indeed
for this amazing discussion regarding Ramadan, mindsets, IQ, EQ, SQ. Alhamdulillah, it makes so much of sense and was truly fascinating. Do have a wonderful rest of Ramadan. Keep us in your du'as, and thank you indeed for your time.
Ameen, and thank you so much. Much appreciated.
That was Khaled Jassat. He is a super coach talking about mindfulness, talking about overcoming the nafs, talking about you are responsible for being in the moment. You are totally responsible for the change you want to see around you. It's not about him or her that needs to change. It starts with you, and then you'll see the whole world changing around you, inshallah. That brings us to the end of the show. It was wonderful talking to Khaled. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion as much as I've enjoyed his company on Ramadan TV this morning. Till tomorrow morning at the same time, as always, shukran for your time. And as always, it is Assalamu alaikum from me, Julie Ali.